Hi everyone and welcome back. Look, Bitcoin was created to destroy the banks, right? That's the reality, to remove them from money. That's Bitcoin 101. No banks, no central authority, no money printing. But now, the biggest banks on earth appear to be embracing maybe Bitcoin by selling it. You've got BlackRock, Fidelity, Wall Street. These are the very institutions that Bitcoin was actually designed to replace. So let's ask the question, what's actually really going on here? Are the banks really embracing Bitcoin? Or is it possible that they may be trying to keep you away from it? See, think about what banks actually do. You must understand how the current financial system works in order to understand Bitcoin. But they create money out of thin air. They lend out money, so that expands the debt. They inflate the currency. Not only that, they charge exorbitant fees just for holding your money. They pay you very little to have your money in their account. They take days to send your money wherever you need to send it, from one place to another. And most of the time, they don't actually even really have enough cash to cover the deposits. In fact, they don't. They don't have enough cash to cover the total deposits that they hold. This is the system that we live in, but this is the system that Bitcoin was actually designed to replace. Bitcoin changed everything. No central authority, no government, no bank, no institution that controls it, okay? Decentralized. Supply, there's only going to be 21 million Bitcoins in total supply. That is the maximum supply. But millions of them are actually already lost forever, which means that the real supply is significantly less than 21 million Bitcoin. It's probably closer to 16 or 17 million coins, which makes it even more scarce. That's real scarcity. And each Bitcoin is divisible as well into 100 million units. And those units are called Satoshis, just like in a dollar. You got 100 cents equals $1. Well, you've got 100 million Satoshis, which equals 1 Bitcoin. Now that means that the Bitcoin network contains a total of 2.1 quadrillion Satoshis. Now here's something that I find very interesting, purely coincidental. The entire global financial system is said to be worth, in all total, including derivatives and everything else, is said to be worth around $2 quadrillion. And obviously those dollars are constantly losing value. They're constantly inflating. Bitcoin can't inflate. So when Bitcoin launched in 2009, that was 17 years ago, the creator, who is completely irrelevant by the way, Satoshi, he embedded a message into the very first block. And that first block was block 0. And on that block, it's still there today, it says the Times, January 3rd, 2009, Chancellor on brink of second bailout for the banks. This little signature here that Satoshi engraved onto that first block was a headline from a London newspaper. Now, what Satoshi did was a commentary on how fragile our current banking system actually is, getting bailed out all the time. Who pays for that? We do. And he also showed us that's why Bitcoin was created. But now, here we are, 17 years later, in 2026, and obviously it's quite clear we've got the biggest banks on earth who are trying to say that they're selling Bitcoin or that they're involved in Bitcoin. Except the truth is, they aren't really selling Bitcoin at all. Okay? They're not selling Bitcoin. These institutions are not in Bitcoin. They're selling Bitcoin ETFs. ETFs are called exchange traded funds. And an ETF gives you, all it does is gives you exposure to the day-to-day price of Bitcoin, okay? Because still at this point, Bitcoin's still measured in dollars. But if you buy an ETF, you don't actually own any Bitcoin, none at all. See, if you buy your shares in your ETF and you sell those shares, you get paid back in dollars, okay? You don't get paid in Bitcoin, which is kind of strange. It's very odd. It's not correct. That's not what Bitcoin is. So you can store billions of dollars, hundreds of thousands of Bitcoins if you want. You can store it on a very small device, on something that's basically the size of a USB stick. You can just throw it in your pocket. And with that, you're given a 12-word seed, and those are your keys. That becomes yours. You don't need a bank. You don't need any institution, no centralized authority. You don't need anyone's permission. You can send the Bitcoin anywhere on earth, anywhere in the world, and it'll arrive in the other person's wallet within minutes, if not seconds. So why would you need to buy an ETF? Because ultimately, the ETFs just keep people inside this current failing financial system. If you're going to buy the ETF shares, you're still using a broker, you're still using a bank, you're still using a centralised authority, you're still going to be paying fees. And when you go to sell it down the track, you still settle it in dollars, in fiat government issued dollars. So you never actually interact with the Bitcoin network at all while you're holding those ETF shares. And that leads to one of the most famous phrases or ideas that you may have heard in Bitcoin, and that is simply, not your keys, not your coins. Okay? If you don't have your own keys, then you don't have any Bitcoin. It's as simple as that. If you don't control those keys, if you don't have them in your own personal hands, in your possession, then it's quite simple. You don't own the Bitcoin. You don't control the Bitcoin. See, most investors, unfortunately, are a little bit outdated. They still think about Bitcoin like this. Okay? They go, what I'll do is I might buy myself some Bitcoin. I'll wait for the price to rise, hopefully, if it goes up. And then when it's risen a bit and I've made some money, I'll sell it back for dollars, okay? That's not what Bitcoin is. If Bitcoin has the power to replace fiat government-issued currency, why would you ever sell it? Why would you ever want to sell it back to dollars? Why would you do that? It's inferior. The dollars are inferior. Why would you trade something that, or give away something that can't be inflated, that holds its value forever, for something that, and then you're going to give it away for something that completely loses its value? See, the real problem is not Bitcoin. It never has been Bitcoin. The real problem, and it's not going to go away until it ends, the real problem is fiat money creation, central banking, monetary debasement. See, central banks are controlling this system. They just run the system. And now they're obviously pushing something else that we've all heard of, central bank digital currencies. Now, the CBDCs. The central bank digital currencies are just fully digital fiat government issued money. It's trackable, it's programmable, inflatable, completely centralized. That's the complete opposite. Bitcoin is the complete opposite of that. I've said it before, Bitcoin cannot be inflated, cannot be printed. It can't be debased. It just can't be, it's impossible. And it cannot be controlled, okay? If you look, governments can definitely try to regulate it. There's no doubt. They can do what they like, but they cannot control it. If they could, what do you think? Don't you think they would have shut it down by now? But they haven't, because they know that they can't. Now look at China. China's banned Bitcoin on multiple occasions. China banned Bitcoin in 2013. It banned it again in 2017, 2021. Did it ever actually stop Bitcoin? Has it ever had any meaningful impact? No. It keeps going anyway. See, Bitcoin was designed to replace the banks, right? Now, if Bitcoin was designed to replace the banks, you've got to ask yourself, why are they selling these ETFs then? Are they really embracing Bitcoin? You know, they're calling it digital gold and all that kind of thing. Or are they creating a product, or have they created a product that keeps you and me inside the very system that Bitcoin itself was designed so that we could escape? See, Bitcoin was never meant to be just any other investment, like a stock or a diamond ring or any of that sort of stuff. It wasn't designed for that. It was designed to be, and it is, an entirely new monetary system. Okay? The real question is not, will Bitcoin go up? Okay? It's completely irrelevant what happens to the today price. The real question that we need to ask is, will people eventually actually use it? Will they adopt it? Will they accept it? Will they step out of the system and use it the way that it was actually really designed? Because we can, but that's the big question. It's a matter of when. So thanks again for watching, guys. I hope this video was informative. If you thought it was helpful, make sure you hit like and subscribe. Chuck a comment in the box below. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you in the next one.